Okay. So welcome everyone to our meeting, and welcome Gary. Thank you for agreeing to come and speak to our members. Let's really appreciate that. Zooming in from Wales, which is wonderful. And at this meeting, Gary's going to talk about his latest book, which covers the Denbigh UFO incident, and also the, oh, sorry, I forgot, is it the Pentyrch incident?
Pentyrch
incident. Oh, great, thank you. But we'll just start off with a bit of conversation. So, Gary, how did you get involved in UFO research?
Well, that's always a question I like to try and find an answer for myself. I mean, the only answer I come to in the end is that this subject kind of chose me because I've had some really strange experiences from my earliest childhood memories, and realizing that they are all linked to the UFO, ET, paranormal events, and things like that. I just realized, I've been having so many of these weird experiences that, yeah, it just kind of chose me, like so many others. Sorry, it's my bloody cat. I got animals galore in this house.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I feel like the subject chose me because I've been having these really strange experiences ever since I was a young boy. And as I got older, I began to listen to other people give their own accounts. And then I realized, well, hang on now, I've never told anyone about this, and you're pretty much detailing similar things that I've experienced. And I realized, oh my God, there's more to this than I realized. And then I just began researching and reading and learning about it. And yeah, it led me down this path of discovery, which then, of course, led me on to UFO investigations. Now, one of my very first experiences with all this is, well, I'll go into, should I give you 3 stories of my childhood that sort of shaped this up for you?
Yes.
When I was 5 years old, I moved to a new neighborhood, and I lived in a 3-story house. And my bedroom was on the 3rd floor, and we had a living room on the 2nd floor. And I remember this so vividly. It's almost like I can record it like a recent memory, but yet it was like when I was 5 years old, and I'm 41 now. I remember being in my bed, waking up and going down the stairs, and everything looked the same, but color, sound, the way things felt, the way things kind of glowed and everything, it was so different. I can only describe it like an out-of-body experience, or astral travel, as some people have called it. Doesn't mean it was that. It's just the closest sort of description I can give for you. And I went downstairs into the living room, and I opened up the curtain. Would you believe it? Outside is this 15-foot tall being staring right at me. And we have a lamppost outside our house. It's like a street light, with a pole and a light on the top, for those of you who don't know. And that was about 15 feet tall. He was as tall as this. And I couldn't see the bottom, more or less the bottom half of him, but the top half I could see really clearly. And he had like one of these black suits on, like a swimsuit you see deep divers use. And it was like a crude oil kind of color. If you've ever seen raw oil or crude oil, it was like that gloopy black sort of texture to it. And when it went against the streetlight, it just shimmered like a glowish, yellowish kind of color. It was very, very strange. But his head was like one of those cone head shaped things, but it was more pointed towards the top, kind of like a crest. And yeah, he just stood there staring at me. I'm 5 years old. I'm looking at this thing, and he's not doing anything. He's just staring at me. And this happened about 3 times in about just over a week, maybe. And on the 3rd occasion, he sort of like wandered off and sort of faded out into the distance. And it was like, like a ghost going through a wall, I guess, or like breath that disappears into the air. He just sort of faded out. And I've never forgotten that. And then the second time was when I was about 6 years old. I remember, oh, this one was quite vivid. It's like, have you ever seen NASA when they do these big composite pictures of the galaxy, these long exposures, and you get those really incredible colors? It was like that in the night. It was like one of these, I can't describe it. It's like I was brought into another, it's part of this dimension, if you will, but it's just like some part above it. And I'm walking with these two beings. One of them is a male and one's female, and they kind of look like what people would call, I guess, the Nordics or the Palladians, as some people would describe them. They've got one of them's got bluish hair, one of them's got gold hair. They're both about 7 feet tall, wearing blue suits and sort of cloaks with these big collars on them. And they're just walking along, and I'm with them, and they're pointing out into the distance, and there's like an image of a galaxy, a different, totally different galaxy, and they're like, you, me, there, you know. What that meant to me at the time, I don't know, but it's kind of suggesting we're all that from that place, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And the way things looked, again, everything looks so similar, the streets and the roads and the houses and everything, but it's kind of glowing like when you see Avatar at night in the film the first time, everything just lights up in that incredible color. So those were two of my very first encounters with what you could call those strange beings, and I heard people recalling those when I was getting into my teenage years, and I'm like, how did you know that? Because I'd never described that to no one. I've only recently started talking about these things, you know, in like the last couple of years. But the one that I've mentioned more than often, because this was people with me, is my very first UFO sighting. Now, this was when I was about 7. It was in the summer holidays, and I know this because my parents used to let me stay out after dark, as long as I stay in the street. But it's summertime, you know, stay in the street. The sun's gone down now, so you know, stay in the street, and you can stay out for an extra hour if you want. All right, okay, thanks. And me and my friends are all playing in the street. We're probably playing a game of something, you know, childhood games. I can't remember what. But then one of my friends pointed out and said, "Look over there," and we're all looking out, and there it is, this disc oval shaped thing, and it's hovering silently. It's not making any noise, and it's got these really strange lights on it. Almost like they blend into one another. You ever seen like a lava flow, like a lava lamp?
Yeah.
It's got that sort of really incredible movement to it, but it's kind of hypnotic to look at it, really, when you see that it's going from red, yellow, and orange, sort of shimmering into one another, blending. I often describe it like the Knight Rider light on the front of the car. If anyone's ever seen Knight Rider and you've seen that red light going back and forth like that,
Mm.
well, this is sort of going around the edge or underneath the oval shaped object, and it was there for about 2 or 3 minutes, and it was sort of like, the only way I describe it is like, you know, if you imagine that's what it is, it's doing this, sort of
Mm.
moving like that. And we took out, one of my friends jokingly called it a UFO, and we knew what a UFO meant, you know, unidentified flying object. We didn't realize the significance of what we were looking at. We just thought, yeah, you know, it's a UFO. It's not a plane or a helicopter. And we just sort of turned away now because we're getting a bit bored at looking at it, or we're just carrying on with something else. And we look back about, I don't know, 15 seconds later, and it's like, here we go. It's not like it could get out of our sight in very short space of time. I mean, even to the nearest mountainside over in the distance, it would probably need a normal plane or helicopter that would fly over our place would probably take about 45 seconds to get over there. But
Mm.
this thing did it in less than 10, 15 seconds, or it switched off its lights or disappeared. I don't know what had happened to it, but that was my very first encounter with all this stuff. And obviously, when I grew up, I started seeing stuff like this on TV, and the things were written in books and newspaper articles. But then obviously when I got to about the age of 18, 19, I started reading about this stuff. And yeah, that's what led me down this road. And since then, I've had some other strange encounters, which I won't talk about at the moment. If
Mm.
I get a bit more comfortable with you lot, maybe I will. But
Oh,
yeah, that's what led me down this path.
that's so typical of people who become involved in the subject. They've had experiences, or and just people, you know, witnesses who have multiple events. They have unusual experiences like your earlier ones.
Hmm.
You know, and I mean, you hear that yourself, don't you? You would have heard that from witnesses too.
Oh yeah, you'd be amazed how often this happens. It's always the same story. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't believe, and then they have an experience and they instantly go from being a non-believer to a believer. But then of course you get some people who have tremendously profound experiences over the course of their life, especially during the childhood years when you're very influential in your mindset and everything. And yeah, this is
Mm,
what
yeah.
this is what makes a lot of people go down this path, I find.
Yes, I think so. So from that, the UFO sighting, how old were you then?
7.
Oh, 7. Oh, wow. That's still young. Okay. So from there, when did you actually become a UFO investigator or start researching the subject? How old were you then?
Yeah, about the age of 18, 19, I started really getting more into it because I thought, it was a fascinating subject. And although internet access was still, even, I wouldn't say it was limited, but it was still, broadband was just starting to come into its own then, or faster dial-up speeds. But let's just say around the age of 20 then, okay? Around the age of 20, I really started because getting access to information was a lot easier. Getting access to books was a lot easier. And I was just reading. I had no plans to get involved in investigations. I had no interest in it at all. I always wanted to I had dreams of becoming rich and successful in that regard. But, having the house and having the wife and having everything like that went up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just read and read and read, and I started going to UFO conventions and other things as well, ancient histories and things like that, ancient civilizations. I found it connected to a lot of stuff, and I just decided, you know what, I've got all this knowledge now. I've picked up some really good tips as well. Why don't I ever go at investigations? I'm not planning on anything big. I'm not planning on doing anything super. I just want to look into this for myself and see where I end up. And then obviously I end up getting involved in 2 major investigations. And one of them has gone absolutely global, the Pentyrch one.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are. And I mean, about 10 years now, I've been doing the investigation side of things.
Right. So why don't you start off with lead us into those 2 incidents?
Well, let me start off with the Pentyrch incident first of all, because realistically, that's the one that led me down the road with everything else that I've done. There's the book if anyone can't see it. There's the one. Hang on. There you go. Yeah. That, by the way, if anyone's ever wondering what that picture is a digital rendition, an artist's rendition of one of the green barrels that Kaz described in the tree that came up to it during the incident. And I'll get to that anyway. But you might want to know that the greatest UFO cover-up of modern times, trust me, you'll understand why I say that when we get to it. Do you want me to start on this, Cheryl?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
do.
shall I? Yeah, okay. All right. So I've been doing investigations for only a couple of years. I mean, I've done small stuff, I've just like people have posted things online, or would you like to take a look at this? And it's usually been from the comforts of my own home or just searching online or stuff like that. But then I obviously, when the Pentyrch thing came around, it was like going into the field and actually doing some other stuff. So how did this happen? How did I get involved in this? Well, the incident took place on February 26, 2016. Now, in the days leading up to that, the days and nights leading up to this event, there had been quite a big military presence, an air force building up in South Wales. Excuse me. And they were just getting more and more noticeable, becoming quite irritating at times as well, because they were just flying so low over people's houses and creating such a nuisance. I mean, we even saw when I was driving up to the town I visit frequently, down the A470, which is a road that connects to Merthyr Tydfil. There was just all these trucks, all these convoys of trucks. And I'm like, what is going on here? Everyone's asking the question, why are the military here? Why are the Air Force here? Why are they creating so much noise? Eventually, we get to the night in question. And I mean, boy, were the military being a pain in the ass at this point. They were flying helicopters and planes, and I believe some of them were even flying jets in places, so low over people's houses at like 2 o'clock in the morning that it was driving people crazy. And it went on for a good few hours with some people. And in the end, it just stopped as quick as it started. And people woke up, what the hell was all that about? And then on the 28th of February, 2 days after, I was in Merthyr Tydfil at the rugby club. There was a convention being held by a man named Richard D. Hall, who does a series called Rich Planet. At the time, he was very, very popular, and it was his tour. And during the Q&A session, when it was all finished, Kaz Clark was in the crowd. Now, I didn't know who she was at that time. The very first time I ever saw her, but she got up and everyone was asking questions about that night. But then she told the crowd, like, you know, in no uncertain terms, that what happened was not a military exercise. It was a UFO event. The military knew it was coming, and one of them was shot down. And everyone was like, what? Because she just said it with such conviction. And although she was kind of frantic because she's still emotionally charged from the event, you know, excited and full of adrenaline and everything, but she said it very, very convincingly. And I just knew, you know, that was when something had happened. And because other people started talking about roads being blocked off. There was a hospital that someone said they worked in that experienced a loud explosion that shook the hospital, and smoke came through the windows. Other people talked about helicopters landing and things like that on areas they shouldn't be landing. And I'm like, what on earth is going on here? Blocked roads, shaking hospitals, explosions. This is not a normal exercise by any stretch of the imagination. So I just knew there was all this other stuff that was supporting in the beginning, and I'm going to look into this. Let's just see where it goes. And it took, would you believe it? Kaz Clark is there. I want to speak to her, and she's being surrounded by all these people at this point because the Q&A session's over. We're not talking about anything else but this. And obviously, there's about 100 people around her now, maybe 150, and I can't get through any of them. They're all bunched in. They're all really bunched in. I can't even work my way through the crowd. Say, look, you know, we can investigate this, and you know, so on. And I was with a UFO group at the time, and unfortunately, I've had a bit of a falling out with them. Nothing to do with my, well, I'm not saying I'm blameless, but I wasn't the one who instigated things anyway. But I'll just leave that at that. But that group at the time, I felt we could have done some real good work with this, and I was trying to get to cars, but then I had to go home because my lift was waiting for me. It's like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night now. They got to get up in the morning, and she's still being surrounded by these people, and I can't get anywhere near her. So I'm like, okay, I have to go. Maybe I'll find out about it tomorrow because by now everyone's going to be posting about this, or she's going to be talking about it because she was desperate to talk then, so she'll be desperate to talk tomorrow. 20 months went by before I had a chance to find her again. And I'll tell you why I think I know now this is the case. Her name, her account, unless you had her on your friends list on Facebook, was being shadow banned or put at the low search feeds because everywhere I tried on Facebook, Twitter, or especially on Facebook, I couldn't find her. I knew her name was Kaz Clark. She was writing on Wales Online, commenting on the story that the cover story for it was that night was a military exercise. So well, she's writing there, so she must be using a Facebook account or something to link into this thing. And no, and then one day, after sort of like 20 months in October of 2017, I had done some research, you know, try to find a few bits and bobs. I got some bits and pieces of information, but I didn't have enough to make anything conclusive. I just found some, you know, plane trails and some interesting accounts of people experiencing some odd things on that night, but nothing like a UFO event. But then when I actually looked at my computer one day, there's Kaz Clark, and I'm like, oh, hello. You know, I think she may have even messaged me actually on a board somewhere. I can't quite remember exactly how we met, but once we made contact, I started getting we started working together, and we got statements, and we got much more detailed accounts. We were able to go visit the areas, and from there the investigation began. And well, you know, it led into probably one of the most intense 8 years I've ever experienced, because even though it's been 8 years since the incident, and I've been investigating this since day one, it's still ongoing. But let me tell you where we're at. Me and Kaz Clark didn't get on in the beginning. Regardless of what people say, we did not get on in the beginning because we were butting heads all the time. You know, she gave me this really incredible account of this large pyramid triangular object, and that her neighbor David, that's an alias to protect his name, by the way, had witnessed this incredible object just appear into the space. It didn't come out of the sky or over a mountain or decloak, as some people have tried to say. This thing like it came through a veil. Like it just came through a veil into the farmland land behind their homes. And it lit up from like 3 lights to 6 lights. And when it was fully illuminated, they were at the gate watching this thing. And yeah, this thing was hundreds of feet high and hundreds of feet wide. And at some point, it let out 15 to 20 of these other objects, which were like described as barrel-shaped objects, which are like that thing there. I don't know if you can see this clearly. Now it's got the black thing on the top and bottom there, and Inside there, of course, Kaz describes it like a white noise on a TV screen, but sort of moving around inside of itself. Anyway, I don't want to get too in detail this because we'll probably end up eating the whole hour. But after the hand of lightning from the craft that moved across the fields stopped itself from touching the floor, two of these barrels came over to them where they were by the gates. And Kaz was standing up on the 5-bar gate, and she was just trying to get a better look. And then she looked up, and there's the one right above her, like this, literally within arm's reach, just nestled in the tree branches there. The other one was about 20, 30 yards away, maybe, and it was like 20, 30 feet above a hedge bush. This one here, just Kaz didn't know what else to do. She just looked at it and waved. That's all she was saying. And it went from red color to traffic light green, and then it shone this really bright light on her. Now this shows like a beam of light like that, but it was more like a large, really low beams of light. And she describes hearing a voice saying, "Tell the world what you know." And also she says she felt elated, like all the fear had been taken out of her when this thing happened. And then the barrels just dimmed down and went off on their separate ways. And later on in the night, there was Apache helicopters involved in this by that point. And some loud explosion had been heard from miles around. And I'm talking a violent explosion. And then that culminated in shaking of homes and hospitals in quite a diameter around the center point of the hospital, the Royal Glamorgan Hospital. And from there, I just started researching, started finding information, started contacting scientific boards like the British Geological Survey, started contacting the MOD through the Freedom of Information. I started looking at many other scientific instruments that I could find, and we did our own field research as well. And what we discovered in the field where this object had been seen, the massive pyramid object, there was a very unusual high concentration of electromagnetic radiation in the areas where this craft had been seen, especially in the magnetic field range, which was kind of odd, I thought, because it wasn't registering anything electrical field, but it was registering our meters were registering in the magnetic field range, especially. And I'm like, what the hell is causing that? So I asked some people, can anyone describe what's going on here? Because there's nothing magnetic in terms of magnetite rock or anything in the foundation. But yeah, I'm getting all these magnetic field readings, and some people are getting ill from being in those fields for over an hour or so. It seems like some sort of exposure to the energy in that area. I experienced it myself on about half a dozen occasions. My skin went red. I felt nausea. I couldn't see through my eyes. Disorientation and migraine-like headaches, fatigue, very strange symptoms, which just came on very quickly after about an hour or two in the fields and would dissipate very quickly after 24, 36 hours, just like someone splashing water on your face. And yeah, I mean, I could go on, but all I can say is after many years now of investigating and putting pressure on the MOD and the RAF, we've now got them to admit that there was no military exercises, there was no training exercises, there was no flying scheduled training of any kind in the South Wales area for the whole of 2006, for February 2016 in that area. And the cover story has always been it was a military exercise, that it's exercise Chameleon. That Chameleon happens twice a year, usually up in the borders of Scotland and England, northern England, southern Scotland. It's always been up there. It's always been announced and people can see it with their own eyes and take pictures. And it's always announced on social media forums too. Yet when it comes to South Wales, there's nothing of the kind. There's no paperwork. There's no documents. There's nothing from the Civil Aviation Authority to say that they're going to be doing it. There's nothing announced in any of the military boards or online Twitter feeds, or even when you ask the MOD themselves, can you just at least give us something to prove that you had something scheduled for that day? Nada. So I just took it straight to the horses. Get it straight from the horse's mouth, as I say. Dear MOD, did you have any low-flying training exercises or any training exercises of any kind in South Wales for February 2016? No, we didn't. We get regular sorties, because we got RAFs in Athens over there. You get regular things flying back and forth, but nothing on the scale we saw that night, which was a military Air Force presence to no doubt intercept something that they knew was coming into this world. They knew it was coming, and that is an absolute fact. Do you want me to go into this, Cheryl, quickly, or do you want to?
I just wanted to make a comment or ask you a question. I mean, that what you described about the disorientation, the fatigue, all that sort of thing. Now, was it? Please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the same thing happened around the Hestelin lights in Norway too. The UFO incidents there over a few years. Someone, I think it was Hestelin, maybe it was somewhere else, but I do remember people there were feeling that. And one person in particular was so ill he had to actually be airlifted out of the area after a sighting. So I've heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the first time this has happened. I mean, with the Rendlesham Forest incident, with the soldiers involved in that, Penistone and Halton, I mean, Burroughs. I've heard their accounts, and they said they suffered some very, very strange health effects, which they're still suffering now. They're
Yes.
still suffering to this day. And
That's the same with that research paper that was published. I think it had to do with Gary Nolan, and it was published listing all the effects from close encounter experiences, ranging from this sort of thing right up to, the degree of, in some cases, people died. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
I did come across some intelligence, some defense intelligence branch in America produced a similar document like that. It's more recent as well. I put it in my presentation in, which one would this be? This would be June of 2022. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it lists all the strange effects that this electromagnetic radiation or the EMF that comes from these strange craft, whatever powers them, the energy they give off can be absorbed into the ground and into the trees and the soil and everything. And depending, I guess, on strength and how long it's been exposed for, it can remain there for a few days, weeks. In the case of Pentyrch, get this, in the fields of Pentyrch, it lasted nearly 5 years. In Smilog Woods, it lasted close to 3.
Yeah.
And all I can say is the hot spots that we know were the hot spots, right? Those were the most active areas. And it's in Smilog Woods, we recently, where the impact happened, the snap trees and everything, if you haven't seen that, there's all these images of the trees that have been snapped. I actually found video close to the day, just 4 or 5 days before it, and the trees are perfectly fine. Because there's bike trails there, and people who use their GoPro helmets and they like to ride down these trails, real fast and show themselves enjoying the mountains. And there's someone going right past this area, and I'm like, hang on, let's have a look. Yep, trees are perfectly fine. And then there's video of Kaz and her friends and neighbors who were interested or had something to do with this. And the trees are all snapped. I mean, they're snapped mid-trunk, perfectly healthy trees. And then some of them are like, that big around. You're talking really sturdy trees, and yet they're completely snapped. They're clean. They're not cleanly snapped enough, but something violent has gone right through them and snapped it very violently, like that. And just basically, they're laying on the ground. And I had a witness to this who rode those bike trails, and he told me those trees were perfectly fine before. But then he goes up there on the 26th or the 28th. He couldn't remember exactly, but it was in that time frame. And the trees are all snapped. And something interesting, he said, a detail which I picked up on, their pallet ramp, they had wooden ramps there that they could go up and do some insane jumps. That was smashed to pieces as well. And I asked him, what do you think caused that? He thought the council had done it. But what's interesting, just to back up his story on this, is that someone used a drone and a GoPro to right up there again just a month or two after the event. And there's the pallet on the floor. You can see it in one of the images. It's all smashed to pieces right there inside of the broken tree area. And I didn't notice that detail at first. But when I found that video, I was like, that actually backs up. That's a little detail that kind of really backs up his story even more. And just to really bring it into modern times, because this is where the book doesn't go into the detail. The latest development on that is there were two people. Well, actually, no, I'll say three. One person named Jacob Coleman, who's gone public with this now, he has spoken publicly. He says he was driving through Smilog Woods because once everything had happened from Pentyrch, all the attention focused on the Smilog Woods area, which is 5 miles northwesterly on the map from Pentyrch. This is the Royal Glamorgan Hospital area as well. And he was driving through this area, and he says he saw two Apache helicopters in what I guess you could describe in a standoff with one of those green objects. Now he has recorded video of this, but his phone is many years old now, and there's a lot of memory that may have been wiped over it, or it may not be available. But I don't know what's happening with it right now, because we're trying to get someone to go into those memory chips and recover that video if possible. I have tried myself with, some software you can use here, but I think someone's going to have to go and do a real deep dive into the hard drive of it all to retrieve that information. But he described a green object in a standoff with two of the Apache helicopters. Now, there were three up that night. You might ask yourself, well, what happened to the third one? Well, after the explosion happened, that one had to make a run and dash for Cardiff International Airport because it had cockpit generator failure, and I believe it was on fire. An Apache helicopter supposedly managed to malfunction like that during a so-called training exercise. Yeah, right. And that's when the explosion had been recorded. It was actually recorded on a seismic signal chart. I put in a freedom of information with the British Geological Survey to get that information, and they described the signal that everyone was the signal around the time people were hearing an explosion as a man-made signal. So that I thought that was very convincing evidence of an explosion right there. If people's testimonies weren't enough on that one, but. Yeah, the Smilog Woods thing with Jacob Coleman, he saw those green objects with two things in a standoff. It's almost like, this is the green object here, the one helicopter's here, and the one helicopter's here. That's how he described it. It's like they're both like just sort of like backing each other up, and there's the green object there, and they're like watching it, and it's like, go on, and who's going to make the first move here? And yeah, he's gone public with that. He is now actually on our Pentyrch Incident YouTube channel. You can hear what he has to say for himself. And if you've seen our latest Kaz's latest presentation, he's actually in that video at the end. I should upload it separately, but I've been so busy with other things. I guess sometimes forget to do that stuff. But we had one person who was with a friend camping that night in the woods. They're outdoor people. They specialize in outdoor sort of training and stuff. They work right, and they've got good jobs too. They work in some companies that have management level. They won't come forward publicly. They will not do that, and because they're still scared. And I'll tell you why they're scared. They were in the woods that night. They heard some explosion, and then they heard something like rumbling on the ground or something hitting the floor. Now, where the impact site is, I have to describe it. They're coming down from the mountain, down the bike trail area. And when they get to the area in question, they can see there's military trucks and other trucks there. They can see that there's three men standing in the area with like these white hazmat suits on, like you've seen a nuclear or chemical spill, I'll call it. They're right in the area. And nestled on the ground there is this thing they describe like, if you've seen the old Coca-Cola glass bottle, you get that sort of thing at the bottom there, that shape. It's like that, but with the top part cut off, So you've got this like barrel egg timer sort of shape, what you see on the old Coke bottle, like one of those. And it's nestled in the bushes and in some of the broken trees there, and they can see it clearly. But they think maybe, well, if the military's involved, it's probably just some military equipment that's gone wrong or something. And maybe they can go and help. And they come out onto the road. They break cover. And instant they do that, right, the military men grab them, throw them in a truck. Don't say anything, being very, intimidating and quite aggressive towards them. Take their phones off them. Do something to them that wipes the memories, it seems. And then drive them away. Don't say a damn word. And then drop them off at some bus stop not too far away, outside of the area, of course, and tell them not to go back. And then they have to go back, of course, because their car is parked up at the top of some distance away. But I got to be honest, you can hear it in his voice. These guys are fearful that something's going to happen to them if they ever go public like that. But he spoke with Kaz Clark, and we've put a portion of his interview up on our website so people can see. And I've had to mask his voice, of course, because I don't want people recognizing who he is. But he describes seeing what crashed in the woods, and it's in the same area that we've been just discussing. So if Smilog Woods was a UFO case of its own, but it's connected to Pentyrch, I mean, you've got, probably one of the most well-documented cases you can ever find now. And yeah, and this guy's not lying, because everything else we've uncovered in that point just basically backs up what we know anyway. Do you want to ask anything about that, Cheryl? Or?
Not at this stage, Gary. Feel free to go on to talk about the Denbigh lights if you want, or yeah.
Yep, you got me pegged. So yeah, as I was investigating the Pentyrch incident, I was pretty well involved in that one at the point. But I came across this one. The Denbigh lights, a truthful argument for the existence of UFOs. And if you see that picture there, that's an artist rendition, of course, but that's not too far off what this thing probably looked like. That was a family in North Wales in a town called Denbigh. And on January 3rd, 2012, yeah, it was around 3 a.m. in the morning. Picture the weather now. It's storming. It's an absolute storm outside. It's like 60-mile-an-hour winds with gusts as strong as 70. It's pouring down with rain, and it's like 0 degrees outside. So not the kind of ideal situation to be outdoors doing anything, even if you are like one of those hard men military types. You know, you don't want to be out training in this or doing any regular sort of training anyway, unless I guess you're SAS. And there's 4 people involved, a family of 4. There's Nathan Thomas, Alex Thomas, who are brothers. There's Linda Pritchard, that's their mother. And then there's Kira Lee George, that's the granddaughter of the boy's mother. Now, Nathan Thomas, who was 12, was watching television at night. It was during, obviously, the Christmas holidays, so he was just chilling out quietly in his room. I guess he was, you know, he was winding down, but he just kept his TV on quietly in the background. And then he hears a thud outside. Boom, you know, what was that? He goes out to his window to investigate, and the council bin is blown over. Now, it's one of those big bins, you know, those really big bins for families to put lots of rubbish in. So it's obviously full, and it's been blown over, so you can get a sense of how strong the winds are. But he determines that it's been blowing over. But as he looks out, you can see in the distance something shimmering, sparkling, very strange lights. Instantly grabs his attention. He thinks it's a reflection coming off of the TV, you know, it's just a reflection off my window or something. But as he opens the window, it's coming from the distance, and it's an object in the distance. And quite excited now, he goes to wake up his brother who's in the next room, and he's trying to sleep. And he's like, come, you know, come see this, Nate. Come see this, Alex. What? He said, oh, there's a UFO outside the window. And he's like, oh, go away, you know, thinking his brother's winding him up. But then, you know, he's like half asleep, half awake, and he goes to the window and he looks out, and this is how he says, you know, he's like, instantly wakes up, and suddenly he realizes he's looking at something very strange indeed. Now, Nathan had been given a camera for Christmas. It was a Toshiba-made Camilio S30, I believe was the model. And yeah, he started recording what was actually there, and he got about 10 minutes worth of video footage. There's 2 separate videos, but it adds up to roughly 10 minutes worth of video footage. And later on, they decided to go and wake up their mother, who was sleeping downstairs. Alex, the older brother at the time, he was 14, Nathan was 12, if I forgot to mention that. They run downstairs to go get their mother, and Alex is screaming and saying, Mom, Mom, Mom. You know, she wakes up instantly thinking, is the house on fire or something? Because the way he sounds. But she says, oh, come and look at this, come and look at this. And she goes upstairs to the window and looks also. And then later on, Kira Lee George comes out as well, because she can hear all the ruckus out in the next room, all the commotion. And they're all looking now outside the window. They're filming it as well. And I've done a documentary on this, not just a book, but I've also done a documentary and a presentation on this. It's on my Rumble channel. And in the video, you can hear the way they talk, how they sound, the words they use, the changes in the tempo of their voice, the excitement levels and everything. It's clear they're looking at something odd, because the way those lights move is very similar, although different, but very similar to what I saw when I was 7 years old. That disc-shaped job that I described to you. And I was amazed when I went up to see them in April of 2018. I was still with this UFO group, and it was when we were great. And we saw this family during a tour of North Wales. And as soon as I saw the video, I was like, when did this happen? I said, oh, 6 years ago. 6 years ago. Has anybody done an investigation on this way then? Well, we had someone look at it early on, but it was just like a local thing. And he did a good job of it, by the way. His name was Peter Glynn. You know, he got the family to speak about the incident. He did some field research, went to the area where he thought this thing had been seen. There was no human nor farm activity there. And, you know, he also did some analysis work as well. So that was good to get all that information out there very quickly. But what I realized is that you've actually probably got one of the best UFO videos that I've seen in a long time, if not ever. 10 minutes worth. And, you know, that's very rare. I said, could I get a copy of this? Because I can get someone to analyze that for you. He's a professional. His name's Jason Gleaves. He has the book called UF Only. He's a former RAF man, but now he does UFO investigations of his own. He writes books on analyzing photos and videos and doing his own sighting reports based upon an analytical work of the digital and photographic evidence. And he looked at mine and he was very, very impressed. And he described what he sees as it has to be labeled as unexplained. And combined with the work that the original investigator Peter Glynn did, and I decided, look, I can certainly expand on this. We can look at the radar returns, see if there's any planes in the area. We can look at weather charts and, just to eliminate all these possibilities and all these other things that people might think it is. And then I did some comparison work as well. You know, could it be fireworks? Could it be arcing of light? Is it something on the buildings outside? Could it be the farmer maybe working on it? Could it be someone training in the area? You know, you never know until you ask these questions. And then, of course, I went up to the area to interview the family myself, look around. And I picked up some more valuable information. I'll go into that in just a sec. But some other stuff I try to work out is, do you know roughly where these lights are coming from? And where's this object exactly from your window? Because it seems to be quite close, but it's still some distance away. And what we discovered, this object was probably about 60, 70 feet across. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. It was about 60 or 70 feet across. And very likely just beyond the road behind a school. And that's very consistent with the eyewitness accounts themselves, because they describe it as oval shaped with lights on its side. Oh, where is it? And some strange red light on top. They all describe this red light on top, all of them. And I should mark this book up to the pages I want it to go to. Where is it? Come on. I've got diagrams and pictures in the book about it, but I can't find it right now. I'll try and find it when we get to Q&As. But the video, you can clearly see the lights are rotating. This object is like this. And at some point, it even turns up on a vertical 45-odd degree angle, like that. Something like that itself. And yeah, with that, you can clearly see, even with an enhanced image that the next door neighbor David Williams did, which is the image I'm trying to find. It shows that this thing is oval shaped. It looks like a cherry cake in some cases. It's got this little red thing on top, and it's got that sort of like oval pattern on. It seems to have a bit of a flat underground, but it's got different lights on it too, like big shining lights and these little ones that surround it, and you can make out shape and different details of the structure of the craft as well. The whole sighting lasts about 15 minutes, and I've got 10 minutes worth of video footage on it. And when I've interviewed the family, I mean, they desperately want to see this thing again. They desperately want to see it. It's like nothing else matters. They're always looking for it. They're always trying to find it, but it hasn't been back since. But yeah, I thought that this particular case, this one, I mean, it's probably the more, I mean, obviously this one here is the bigger case because of the military cover-up and everything involved. And it's obviously the biggest case I'm ever going to do. The reason why I like this one so much, and the reason why I call it a truthful argument for the existence of UFOs, is not to prove, to make a, because obviously, to me, UFOs are real anyway. But I mean, when I first started this back in 2018, I said, if you're looking for a case, right? If you're looking for a case that just really says, UFOs are real, all right, show me a case that says it's real then go look at that one because it's all there for you. All I've done is just now put it all together and make a very solid argument for it so that people can see it for themselves. And yeah, that's why I think, it's such an underrated case, but yeah, it's got all the evidence you can ask for. So yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, so would anyone like to ask Gary any questions or make any comments at this stage? Someone put your hand up, anyone?
I'm going to go because no one else is. Have you checked ADSB data at all for that date? What was it, back in 2016? Because I know you can go on to ADSB Exchange and you can go back to different dates and things like that. So you can look at aircraft movements.
Yes.
But the main, yeah. So ADSB, they allow you to see military craft, whereas the other ones they don't.
Yeah,
like flight aware and things like that.
Yeah, that was something I did pretty much instantly. I didn't know about ADSB at the point. I got that as an app on my phone now, and I use it on my computer as well. But there was something called planefinder.net, and they had the two military planes. There were two of them, actually. One was called ZZ8, and the other one was ZG. They both RAF and Army planes, but the ZZ4181, this one was circling all over the area where this craft had been seen, and had been doing laps for days, taking it in turns with the other plane, which was doing zigzag sort of crisscross patterns. And yeah, what's interesting about Planefinder is that it used to have radar data that went back 6-7 years. But since when we went public with the information, especially with the planes, sometime in 2018, they changed their system from 6-7 years to only 1 week, and you could then only subscribe to the channel and go back 1 year. But yeah, the ADSB thing used to have lots of radar data on there, but they've seemed to change their tune as well. You can only get back, you can only get limited data for a couple of weeks or a month or so now anyway. But
yeah, if I feed into their network, so you can actually get a professional thing, and then you can go back, like you can see historic data if you feed into their network.
Do you actually have 2016 then?
I haven't. I don't know, but I'll go and have a look for it.
Oh, Ben, if you could do that for me, mate, I'll kiss you on the lips, mate. I
mean, I'm not promising anything, but yeah, it goes back. They've got a lot of historical data, but I don't know, as you say, like the internet.
Well,
yeah, it was pretty good in 2016, but I don't know what their data storage is, for example.
Well, if someone's got that information stored on a raw data or something like that on any kind of any data on a ADSB exchange or whatever, I'd love to get my hands on it, because I can prove that, because the only two planes I can see on radar that were flying that day were the ZZ418 and the ZG996. The other ones, if they were up that night, didn't actually seem to have their transponders on, as far as I can tell, because there's another one called ICAO. I can't remember exactly what it stands for.
The international.
Call Air Organization or something, is it?
Don't know what it is, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like for those of you who don't know, it's like when you're flying a plane, you have like different area codes for certain parts of the sky and parts of the countryside or whatever around the world, and you have to there's a code that gets punched in or gets done automatically, and it tells you where certain planes are. Now, there is a website I did find that actually had those codes listed for that day. And would you believe it, right? Some of the planes we're talking about, the military planes, like the C-17s and the Lynx helicopters and everything, it does list those on the 25th to 24th. But when we get to the 26th, for some reason, those codes are not being transmitted, or they're not showing up as much as they should. I mean, there should have been loads of these codes on that night, because there were at least 20 aircraft up that day. Well, there's nothing there. And what's really interesting, if we want to get into this, is something I forgot to mention, is after the explosion, there was a Chinook helicopter seen going into Smilog Woods. This is the Pentyrch incident now. And something was being taken from the area, airlifted out, and then sent over to RAFs in Athens. This helicopter made 3 sorties. And I know this because of the military plane watchers. You know, like you get train spotters and plane spotters. Well, these are like military enthusiasts that log all of the flight numbers and tail numbers. And you can see them, they're coming in, out, and this thing makes 3 sorties. And one of the witnesses, David, the other witness who was with Kaz, he said he saw this one Chinook helicopter being followed by 2 Apache helicopters making sorties, regular sorties backwards and forwards from Smilog Woods. And it's crazy. That later on that afternoon, that the then Prime Minister David Cameron was in the area of Caerphilly, which is not too far from Pentyrch, and someone made the very interesting point that, you know, Caerphilly is of a Labour area. He's a Tory, you know, Conservatives. What's he doing? You know, and he would never normally visit this area anyway. It's not like, you know, Caerphilly is a major thing on his shall we say, important. I'm trying to find the word for this. It's not like an important stop on any of his job routines or whatever. But he's in the area, and I also understood that maybe King Charles was also in the area at the time. And we've got this Royal Charter plane. Its tail number is ZE700, and someone brought this to my attention. But that's like a Royal Charter plane, one of those very specialized planes that only carry like the cabinet, top military brass, and members of the royal family. No one else would be able. No one else of any, unless you're someone of some significant importance in the structure of the hierarchy, that thing would never come here. And I think it's only ever been here twice to RFs in Athens anyway. So on that particular day, then I know from the ICAO code, Ben, right, that it flew over to America and then came back the next day and then basically went back to its airbase. But if this is of any significance, there's a website called Politicite. That's what it's called. Someone says that on that website, that's something that was brought from RAFs in Athens the very same night over to RAF is it Parsons Air Force Base? I don't know if that's the name of the base, but it's in New Jersey or somewhere around there. And they reckon something was brought from the Cardiff area.
Oh, you mean Wright-Patterson?
I say, yeah, I think that's the one. I haven't put much stock in that particular story, but there are some details of that story which do stand out for us, you know, because there was mention of trucks in certain colors, you know, that which do stand out for us. So maybe there's more to that story than we realize, but it looks like whatever they took from the Pentyrch Smilog incident, especially on the forest, it was then taken to the St. Athens base, and then it was flown over to America. That much I am certain of.
My other question was, do you guys have like the same FOIA system as what America has, or does that go back to being under the UK and it's one FOIA system as such?
I'm not sure how the American one works.
Oh, sorry, in your instance, yeah. Like, can you do a FOIA search just on Wales alone, or do you have to go back?
You have to be a citizen of the UK to do an FOI request. It's not like I could write to the American people and say, can I have that information? They'll ask me, am I a citizen of the United States? Which by then they just turn around and deny me based upon that alone.
Yeah, I was thinking from a British angle. Yeah, I was thinking from a British angle, though, if you were to approach, because I know there's another guy, John Ramirez, and he did some radar talks with Project Unity, and he was saying there's a radar base called Menwith Hill, and they probably would look up over your area because they were watching the whole of the Arctic Circle.
I don't know about that. Menwith Hill, that sounds familiar. Yeah. I'm not sure if this was related.
Flying Dales radar is the other one. Flying Dales. I think it's in the... Yeah, right.
Not heard of that one.
Okay.
Learning something new, yeah. Flying Dales, I have to make a note of
that. Yeah. Menwith Hill and Flying Dales were 2 radars that sort of watch the whole of the Arctic area.
I think I know what you mean now. Yeah, Menwith Hill. I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, I've come across it when I was checking out the ICAO codes and the flight radar data and stuff like that. But what I do know is that there seems to be there's a possibility of an underground base in the Brecon Beacons area, which is the mountain inside the national park for Wales. It's called the Brecon Beacons.
Okay.
And so it has been reported, and I think it is actually proven now, that there's a radar station somewhere in that area. There's like a radar antenna or a radio station of some sort that listens out for stuff from the Arctic Circle and satellites above and secret communications. And some people think it's got something to do with the UFO thing as well, because Wales, especially in the areas that I'm talking about, tremendous hotspots for this sort of thing. So maybe that's got something to do with it.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, I think you had your hand up, didn't you? Yeah.
Cheryl?
Yes, I did.
Just
Your-
let Greg ask a question.
Hi, yeah, thanks for all your work. Your books are freely available. Where? Where
On
can we get
Amazon,
copies?
you can buy them. The Pentyrch Incident and the Denbigh. You can get them in a number of formats: hardback, paperback. If you've got Amazon Prime, you can download them free, or Kindle or audio anyway. So
Great.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I obviously, Philip Mantle is my publisher for this one.
Okay.
So we sell it. He sells it for whatever price he recommends. This one, it's available more or less at cost anyway, because that one was self-published by Kaz Clark. So they've got the Amazon people charge what they charge, and then the delivery people charge what they charge. But if you've got Amazon Prime and Kindle audio or something, you can download it free anyway.
Thank you. And under your name, on the Rumble site, under your name, you've got some videos.
Yes, I post a lot of my different videos on there because I do political activism sometimes as well. But I post my cases on there. I should get a website, actually. I've been told I should, but trying to find time for that stuff is a bit limited right now. But if you go on Rumble, my name, Gari Jones, GariJones. And if you put the number 7 at the end of it, because for some reason I had to enter it that way, comes type in the Denbigh Lights up Rumble as well. You'll find it that way. But if Cheryl wants me to, I'll leave us some links. You can all tie into that one, because you're posting it later on, aren't you, Cheryl?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I'll get the links for you, Greg. If you want, you can click on them.
Yeah.
Thank
This
you very much. Thank you.
go up on the UFO Research Queensland YouTube. Yeah. Okay. Who had a question next?
Yeah, Cheryl, it's Ruth. Hi.
Yeah, Ruth.
How are you, mate?
Good, good.
Hiya.
Hi, Gary. Firstly, thank you for your time very, very much, and your work and your insight and your research. Really appreciate it. I just have a couple of questions just with regard to what you said. I'm not going to challenge you too much. They're factual stuff. So for the tedium, small, is that spelled as it says phonetically? Just so I can Google it.
It's Sierra Mike Indigo Lima Oscar Golf.
Hang on, Sierra Mike Indigo. Go again. Sorry.
Sierra Mike India Lima Oscar Golf. So SMILOG.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Cheers. Is that 10-minute footage from that family online anywhere?
Yes, it's on the Denbigh Lights video documentary that I made. It's broken up into 2 parts. The reason I put it on there, of course, is for people to see it, but also I transcribed what they say, because obviously the Welsh accent can be quite difficult for some people to understand.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand it perfectly because I'm surrounded by it every day. But
I'm from Manchester a long time ago, but yeah. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, it's obviously done for the reasons that I want people to hear what they're saying, because you're getting not just the visual of what they're seeing, but you're getting their own personal experiences and voices and emotions too.
Of course, and that's why I'm dead keen to watch. And one last question: Cass Clark, does it have an E on the end or not?
Yeah, she does spell it with an E on the end. Yeah, I had to think about that then. Yeah, it's Cass Clark.
Thank you. Just for future reference, mate. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Right.
Lolette, yes, you have a
Hi, Gary. Thank you so much for a wonderfully interesting and exciting talk. Question though, have you had any personal encounters since childhood? Any personal experiences as you did when you were a little boy?
I think I mentioned two of them, didn't I? When the 15-foot tall being and those two. What do you mean by personal encounter?
Well, you know, when you're a little child at 5, 6, 7, you saw the UFO, you saw the lights at your window, you saw the beings, you walked with the beings. But since you've grown up, become a man, have you had any more experiences of that kind?
Yes. I'll mention one for you if you want.
Yes.
I'll mention two actually, because one of them is actually quite creepy. So, you know, don't have nightmares, anyone? Well, just very quickly. I mean, this is my bedroom at the minute, but I did have my room back in the other place, but I'm sort of doing the house out again, so you know everything's chaotic here at the minute. But anyway, I remember one time when I was about 22 or 23 thereabouts. I was walking into this room, like, you know, coming through this very door, and I just got the sense that something was wrong. You know, it was just horrible, dark sense of dread. And you know, I get these feelings often, and I sometimes think, yeah, it's just my stomach, or it's just, you know, nerves or something. But cut a long story short, I just knew something was wrong. So I'm in bed one night, sleeping, and I get the sense there's something close by. I mean, I'm sleeping, but my body's sort of waking up a bit. My senses are starting to activate again. And I get the sense there's something there. I'm afraid to open my eyes, but I'm not. I'm opening my eyes, but again, I'm not awake. I'm sort of like semi-awake. I don't know how to describe it, but there it is, right there in front of me. This bloody creepy hooded thing, with a face that looks like one of those old vampire movies. You ever seen the creepy old black and white ghoulish-looking face? Kind of look like the friggin' Exorcist. You know what I mean? When that bloody horrible face, and then it's just like. It's like when you see a negative, when you see the cut, you take a normal picture, negative, electronic, distorted music kind of sound. When I was trying to get off me, you know, like I'm trying to scream, and suddenly I'm able to wake myself up or force it off or whatever I'm doing, and I realize what the hell is that? I'm sweating like crazy. And you're thinking it's a nightmare, but then like I realized. Just before I woke up, I've chased this thing outdoors and out into out to the back garden, and the moon is shining, and the clouds are a certain style, and the stars are a certain way. What do you think I see when I actually get up and I go back out there? And it's the same bloody thing. The moon is in the same position. It's got the same sort of you know, illumination, like 3/4 full or whatever it was, and the stars and the clouds are all the same. So I'm like, hang on now. I just come out here already, or am I just happened, you know? So that was very strange. And yeah, the second, and it wasn't long after this, actually. I guess maybe it was sort of like the flip side of things, because this was very, very pleasant, actually. Again, I'm sleeping. I'm getting a sense that there's something close by. And I'm getting a sense of like there's a woman, a blue woman in that blue suit again. And she's got blonde hair, and she's obviously very stunning and attractive looking lady. Dreaming. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, she's standing right there. She's literally right here, right next. There's my bed. There she is, right there. And I'm like, I don't say anything. I'm like, am I daydreaming? You know, I'm awake now. I can see her with my own eyes. I'm like, ah. And she just fizzles out right in front of me.
Wow. Thank you.
That was more pleasant one, actually, just because it seemed, you know, some people have described, oh, you know, that sounds like she came for like a healing session then, you know, just to sort of get the negative energies out of you. But I'll let people make up their own mind on that.
Thank you.
All right.
Cheryl, I have another question, if that's okay, and Gary.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Just thinking, I mean, I've seen a few things, broad daylight, middle of the night, the whole business. A completely random and unthought out question. Do you think that, it's not the individuals are targeted, because I don't believe we are. Is it about receptivity to contact, do you think? as in whether or not, you know, like a deaf person wouldn't knock on, you wouldn't knock on the door of a deaf person. There'd be no
I'm
point.
not sure. I can't quite understand what you're saying there.
Sorry, Gary. Do you think that they show up to people who are prepared to listen, and if so, repetitively?
Yes, I think it's definitely selective. It's not random. Maybe sometimes they are. People just walk into the space where they're trying to appear. But I think most of the time, yeah, it is selective. There are people chosen for these things, whatever reasons you can make up. They're your own, I guess. But I don't believe this is a random thing. Not at that level. I think if you're talking about abductions or contact, there's many different levels to this. My friend and I have had some good discussions about this. Abductions, the ones where people are taken physically and had experiments on, that seems to be the more randomized one. They're probably just picking people based on genetics, maybe. Certain people have certain genetics that they want. The more contact experiences where there seems to be some sort of interaction with mental and emotional or psychic ability, if you will, or where people are given lessons or experiences which shape and mold them in certain ways. Yeah, that's done for a more specific reason, and that's not random, in my opinion.
What do you
and
think?
I think those people are prepared from an early age to accept that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's why we're all seen as weird, I guess, because we're having those really weird experiences.
I can relate to what you're saying. Yeah, I guess I just wonder, and yeah, what are the reasons? I mean, you know, there are people. Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody has their own specific reasons. I mean, but
I think it's got to be about spreading the knowledge and awareness, surely, on some level.
Yes, that is definitely that's the only outcome of it all is that at some point, because I mean, look at the way the world is going. It is going to hell in a handbasket, and it's just nothing. I mean, here in Britain, I don't know what it's like for wherever else where you people are in the world, but here in Britain, nothing works. Our governments don't work. Our politicians don't work. Our education system's a mess. Our NHS is on its knees. Taxes are through the roof, and yet nothing improves. Crime is through the roof. Immigration doesn't stop. The news can't stop lying. And, you know, no one's got any answers. No one's got any solutions. And the only thing that they can come up with, we need more tighter laws and control to stop people doing things. Green deals and all that. And whatever you make of those things, it's just nothing in this country is working, and there's no progression, there's no moving forward. And the only thing I can see that's going to get us out of this mess now, which is sort of happening, is the UFO disclosure. We have to disclose. We have to tell people the truth, because that seems to me that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for technologies and knowledge and science to start moving us maybe in a more positive direction. And then there will come a time, I guess, when people will wonder what the hell's going on, what's happening. And those of us who have had those interesting experiences are going to be there to answer those questions and keep a sense of calm on things, I guess. That's just my own idea on that. So I hope maybe that helps answer some of your questions.
No, I really appreciate your answer. And I agree with you entirely, at the very least. Hopefully it'll get us all out of our own arse of self-importance.
Indeed.
Thank you, Gary. Cheers.
Nice.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts? I had one, Gary.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm wondering how the witnesses of those experienced the Denbigh lights and the Pentyrch incident, how their lives might have changed. Have you been staying in touch?
I keep in regular contact with Cass Clark because we're still working on this one. Her life has been, as she would say, probably turned upside down and inside out. It's totally changed everything. She never was into UFOs. She never has been interested in UFOs. She's never felt the need to go and get disclosure. She's never felt the need to do any of this stuff. But after that night, it's turned her life inside out and upside down. As I said, she's writing books, she's doing interviews, she's pursuing disclosure with a passion, and she's got all the best interests of people around her at heart. She is a genuinely caring, loving person. She's not doing this for money. If we wanted to do this for money, I guarantee you we could have made money on it by now, but this stuff is costing us money. You know, we haven't spent a couple of £100 on this. We're talking, well into the tens of thousands by now. You know what I mean? That over the course of a number of years. But, you know, that stuff's not making us money. So anyone accusing us of doing that, you know, you can go do one. You know what I mean? But with the other witness, David, as well, that was with her by the gates. Yeah, I mean, he's only ever spoken once about this, and that was under a voice. It was only an audio with his voice covered. One of those mufflers, what you call them. Yeah, he's you know, he has been turned from a, you know, a person who may have believed to a total believer now because of the experience he's had. And then when, of course, and obviously the reality hits them because he's, you know, he's got family, works, and he doesn't want to put their lives in jeopardy or in harm's way. So he doesn't speak out about this at all. You know, so there's awareness there now that's obviously come part of his psyche now. And then, of course, you've got the two witnesses from Smilog Woods. They're scared deaf. They're scared shitless to talk. The other guy, I mean, the other guy, we're lucky he got him to talk. He's trying to get his other friend to say something, but oh, he won't say a thing. No, he will. We barely got a text out of him from his friend, you know, because obviously he trusts his friend to say, you know, be more respectful of his wishes. Then the family up in North Wales. They, you know, in the beginning, you can see it, they were really excited, really full of passion. And Nathan, the one who recorded it, he wanted to put it on YouTube and send it to the Post and everything. Now he is a shell. He stays inside a shell because he's been ridiculed and he's been laughed at. I mean, all the witnesses that I've had have been laughed and ridiculed and taunted and made to feel like they're this small, you know. But he knows they're real. I mean, the other family members too, they all know it's real now. They all know it's real. I mean, give you an example of how much they want to see this thing. I mean, Kira Lee George, in my documentary that I made for this, she was so amazed by it. She's a big Ed Sheeran fan. And the conversation went into this area. She said, you know, it could like, oh, okay, then. It's interesting. I said, you know, if you could go on tour with Ed Sheeran, backstage pass, full access, that sort of thing, or maybe win the lottery and go and do all the things you want to do, you know, or if you could see this thing again, what would you pick? She said, oh, I'd pick to see that thing again because it's priceless. And I thought, you know, that just summed it up brilliantly, you know. So yeah, that was really interesting. And I've had other witnesses too. I mean, to other cases that I've done. One is called The Mystical Lights of Merthyr. The family named that one. I thought it was a good one. So up in Merthyr Tydfil, a family of 3. Gareth Harbord with his 2 kids who were 12 and 13 or 11 and 13. They videotaped a series of strange lights up in the sky above Merthyr Tydfil, just outside of the town centre. And they're like 4 of them. There's like 3, sort of like the Orion's belt, you know, the 3 stars on Orion's belt, they call it. And there was one just underneath. And as they're driving along, this one changes formation and moves with it. And they stopped to take a closer video of it. And this thing disappears and comes back. I describe it like someone blowing up and deflating a balloon. Like, you know, it comes up like that and then out it goes like that. And again, he wanted me to investigate it. I checked with all the usual flight radar stuff and ADSBs and things like that. There was the only thing that was going on that night, but there was nothing up at the time. The Air Force One was over here because obviously Joe Biden was visiting the country. And I was wondering, that's the flight path that Air Force One are taking. They are actually coming over this area or over this particular part of the sky as they head back to America or come from America. And I'm wondering, are they avoiding them? Are they tracking them or something? I mean, that was very, very strange. But he and his kids are now watching for ET. You know what I mean? Well, his kids anyway. But it's just, yeah, some people have a very positive experience. Some people have a very life-changing experience. Yeah, no one's the same again. No one.
No, that's
Not
right.
after that.
I was just wondering, was there any post-traumatic stress in the witnesses that you knew?
Yes, Kaz had PTSD for sure.
Yeah, right. Okay. And what about, was there a shift in their personal interests, or you know, perhaps they were doing something before and they wanted as a hobby and they wanted to turn it into a, you know, an income thing, that sort of stuff?
No, no.
No.
I mean, obviously with Kaz, you know, we're working together now, and we're really pushing forward for disclosure in our country anyway, which is why that petition thing has got going. We're obviously trying to get more people interested in talking to us, and maybe doing something with the case in terms of television. You know, we've only ever been on one show on television. That was Craig Charles and Sarah Crudis on, I think it was called The Unexplained for Sky History TV. They did a really, really piss poor job. I'm sorry, but they didn't do a good job of it at all. Uh, but I mean, if you've seen Kara's interviews now, I mean, she really has started to look at so many different avenues, and so have all the other witnesses to a certain degree. But I don't believe this person back on with their lives. They don't want. They've sort of shied away from it and just want to get on with a really amazing experience and just want to report in someone to look into it to say they're not crazy. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of something where you're coming from, you out, you know what I mean? So be careful now. That's what I say to these people. I'm not here to out you, but I am here to get to the truth. And the truth is, most of the people who come to me know that I've had these experiences myself. And I think just most people just don't want to be seen as crazy. They want people to see, you know, that they've experienced something. Can somebody help me? And I feel like I'm providing, as well as my own curiosity, I feel like I'm providing a service for these people. But yeah, I mean, the one lady, Serena, from the Caldecott Triangle one, she was walking across her road, and she felt she was going to see a friend. She felt something above her head, and as she looked up, there was a 15 by 15 by 15-foot triangle like that, 15 feet all around, and she was like, "What?" You know what I mean? And she instantly grabbed her phone too and tried the footage of it, but this is how she described it. I think this is how she described it. You know, phone on, go. And by the time she got that, this thing had already darted way off, miles into the from a standing position to a moving position, and it was already heading up towards Bristol Channel, up towards the Severn Bridge, which is one of the main bridges that, well, I call it the Severn Bridge anyway. Some people may know it as the Prince of Wales Bridge now, or Bristol Channel Bridge, whatever you want to call it. But it was already heading up in that direction. But she managed to get video footage of it. And I mean, I had that analyzed with Jason again and put a documentary together. I've got quite a few good documentaries with video evidence and photographic evidence, which is what I like. I like to have something visual to show people because it's you know, a picture says 1,000 words. And if you're prepared to do the legwork, you know, like the radar checks and the flight checks and, you know, all the leg field research and everything, you can really make a good case out of it. And you know, speaking to the witnesses is always important as well because you get the person's personal account. But Serena, yeah, she started looking more into ancient history and bloodlines and what else is there? The royal bloodlines as well. And she's like, she may have had an interest in it, but since that experience, it's sort of amplified it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, some people just get on with life. Some people are changed, and some people, you know, like Kaz Clark, you know, myself, you know, we crusade for this sort of thing, you know. So yeah, everybody's different.
Yes. Well, yeah, I personally, I find the witnesses I've spoken to, they do change. If they were creative beforehand, they become much more creative, or they develop an interest in maybe alternative healing modalities, things like that, you know, or they become more spiritually engaged, those types of things. Yeah.
I was just going to say that actually. Yeah, that definitely is one thing. But what I've also noticed with some of them, even if they're doing it if they're doing it in their own private time, they seem to take up more truthful causes as well. You know, uncovering lies and to stop people, you know, well, feeding the public bullshit. you know, it's like the media and the government have just not been. I mean, just look what's happened over the last couple of years with, you know, some people are talking about the COVID injuries through the vaccinations. That's coming more and more obvious now. There's other people who have. Well, I mean, there's a guy named Stephen Batman who's started his own crusade now, trying to help people who've been injured by the vaccine, COVID-19 injuries. I mean, there's more and more evidence coming out about that now. And he had a sighting in Newport of a triangle of 100 feet in length, he says it was. And
Gary,
he was very, very.
You just dropped out. Can you repeat that, please?
I'll start again. I got a person named Stephen Badman, and he had a sighting in Newport in Wales, which is funny enough, again, not too far from the Bristol Channel. And he saw a triangular shaped object, which was like many hundreds of feet long. And he now is very determined. He started the company. I think he's actually launched it now. He wants to help victims of the COVID vaccine injuries. He really wants to, you know, help people and expose the lies of all that. And yeah, that's become a personal thing for him as well. So I guess maybe that the sighting changed him on that too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, beforehand he was he was interested in UFOs, you know, but now you know, it's like you say, they become spiritually a bit more awake. They're more inclined to learn about these things, but at the same time, caring more about something, getting passionate about something that involves changing the wrongs of the world. You know, that seems to be a current thing as well.
Yeah, I think they're all, I've found anyway, that they're much more critical of their society and the things that aren't working, you know? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, consciously aware. Any other comments, questions, etc.?
If I may.
Is that you, Ruth? Yes?
Yes, it is, Cheryl. Hi.
Go on.
Just thinking of, sorry, the terminology, the wrongs of our society. Yeah. My favourite background is sociology, and I'm fascinated by the constructs of how we sort of create this society. And UFOs and ghosts, both of which I've been seeing, you know this, Cheryl, just really challenge this complete falsehood of delusion of what we're supposed to be, or what was it, you know, money, houses, the whole business. And, sorry? No, you're right. I just heard a voice and it wasn't mine. Anyway, yeah, anyway, so I'm on board with all of that. I don't get this construct. I really don't. And with the things that I've seen and the questions I ask, I'm sure everybody asks them to some degree, but I don't ask one lightly. They just seem to keep magnifying. It's not about me. Sorry, I'll shut up. I don't get Western constructs. I really don't, because there's so much more going on. And I wish we could embrace it a bit more. That's it. I'll shut up now.
Thanks, Ruth. Any other comments or questions? Anybody?
There's one, Lena and Jill, is there? And Ben again.
Lena? Yes, Lena, go ahead. Oh, Lena's clapping what? She's agreeing with Ruth. Yes, definitely. Did you want to make a comment, Lena? No. Okay. Anybody?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
She does want to.
There we go. Having issues here.
Okay.
Okay, so with Kath Clark, you were saying that when that thing was above her, she heard a voice that said to her that she should tell what she knows. And Ruth asked the question, you know, are people approached because they are selected, you know? And it would appear that's the case. It may be with Kath Clark, and I'm wondering, has she had any further incidents or contact of any kind since then?
There have been more sightings made over those areas where this thing actually happened. That much I can say for. You know, the Smilog Woods in the Pentyrch area seem to be a hub right now for UFO activity. I've had quite a number of sightings happen from that area, but
nothing personal.
nothing personal. I mean, if it's personal, that's something for Kaz Clark to answer. I mean, she has told me some stuff, but I don't feel inclined to say it here,
Right?
because you know that's something for her to discuss. But you know, that experience alone changed the way she looked at life, and she felt compelled to, you know, to come forward and start telling the world what she saw. That's what the barrel said to her. She said, "Tell the world what you saw," and she said, "I will," and that's what happened. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Greg's asking, I'm wondering if these people are connected to the unified field. Interesting question.
Maybe, I don't know. Is that all consciousness is one or something? Is it? I've heard of that before, but I've never really looked into it much.
Okay. Any other comments or questions before we let Gary go?
It's me again. Just one thing. I don't sleep with a notepad and pen beside my bed. I just don't, because there's too much going on. Overlying, by the way, that wasn't a sexual reference. Sorry, what did you say?
Sorry, I'm in trouble hearing you, Ruth.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I was being a bit facetious for a second. I don't normally sleep with a notepad and pen beside my bed.
Okay.
Just being a bit of a
Cut
smart.
out again.
No, you've just dropped out again.
Oh, shit. Okay. All I will say is I woke up one morning to a notepad and pen beside my bed, and on the note was written, "We've been showing you truth for years." Now, I didn't write it, so I'll just leave it at that. People can make of that what they will. They'll call me crazy or whatever, but I've still got that piece of paper in my purse, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
That's not the first time I've heard that, Ruth.
Thank you, Gary. I know I'm not mad. Well, either
No, you're not mad. I have seen it. I have seen this happen with other people. They get messages somewhere that want to put a notepad or a back of a piece of cardboard. It's in their handwriting, or it looks like they're writing, but it's a message personally for them, but they don't know where it came from. They didn't write it, or they didn't do it, but somehow there it is. You're not crazy, trust me. That's not the first time I've heard that one.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I know I'm not mad. There's a lot of things have gone on. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that one with you, because I don't usually keep paper and pen beside my bed.
I think those people who told me that themselves would be happy to hear that, actually.
Cheers. Really nice to hear you, Gary. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Ruth.
Just one more question from me, Gary. Do you think that there are phenomenon overlapping the UFO phenomenon, like other phenomenon?
Give me an example.
Well, I don't. We know that witnesses who have, multiple UFO incidents in their life, and or very close up experiences with UFOs, extraterrestrials, call them what you like, that they have the paranormal sort of intertwining as well. But do you think that's actually separate to the phenomenon, or is it, actually intertwined with it? Is it part of it?
I think it encourages it more, maybe. I think, those who would call it what you want, poltergeist activity or ghost spirit visitation or something like that. I think it may encourage it more to happen. I don't know if the two are linked. I think, like I say, with the lady who vanished in front of my eyes here, I could have called that a ghost, but I could have called that from. Let me think. I could have called that a ghost or a paranormal. That could have been an interdimensional being, for all I know. I don't really know how to answer that question, but I'd say I would say, based upon experiences and what other people told me, yeah, they're probably linked. The paranormal and the UFO ET phenomena are linked in many more ways than we don't really fully understand right now.
Sure.
Yahoo.
there's there's something here from, oh, we got from Sean. We'll get to you in a minute, Gerard. But in Sean, he's just saying, in 1979, I saw what looked like the moon drifting slowly to the horizon. I looked around and saw the actual moon. The next morning, my chicken and pigeon enclosures had huge wing marks in blood, and more than 50% of my chickens and pigeons that I was banning for Kernewek Lowender, the Cornish festival, were missing. This is in South Australia, but he's just wondering, what do you, he says, looking for a response from you, Gary. What do you think that might have been?
I don't know. I mean, is it in the chat? Is it?
It's in the chat, yeah.
Oh, let me have a quick read of it, Sean. What looked like the moon drifting slowly to the horizon. I looked around, saw the actual moon. Next morning, my chicken and pigeon enclosures had huge wing marks in blood, and more than 50% of my chicken and pigeons. And I was beaning for, what's that, Kernewek, is it, or something? Lowender, the Cornish festival, were missing. Well, Sean, I got to be honest. There's two things I'd noticed there. The first one being the moon coming at me and then moving away, or as you say it there, it looked like the moon drifting slowly to the horizon. I've had someone tell me that in a personal conversation. They wouldn't let me investigate it or make any sort of note of it, but I can obviously talk about it because, you know, I'm not identifying the person as a whole or identifying the person personally, but I've had at least 3 people in my in the last few years tell me they see what they got a white disc that looks like the moon coming at them, and then it's moving away. And then sometime afterwards, they're noticing strange markings or strange things happening to themselves or people around them. You know, some people have
Can you hear me, Gary?
Is
Just
that Sean?
Yeah, this is
Oh.
Sean. Yeah. Approximately 3 to 5.5 inches on the left side was the moon.
Is that how it appeared to you in size and the distance, you mean?
Yes.
Ah, right.
Descending towards the lower plane was this artifact which looked like the moon, and 3 or so inches to the left, higher up, was the actual moon.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually something I've had people describe, something that looks like the moon. It's out. It's usually full moon, probably. Was it a full moon?
It was the night of a full moon, yes, correct.
Mm.
But
That's
it was,
something I've heard a
and
lot.
my window was completely open, so it was not an artifact of reflection of a or a shining of glass. My window was completely open.
Yeah, I mean, look, all I can say, but with the whole silver disc moon thing, that's something I've heard people say quite a few times, and it's always on a full moon too. So I've heard people
Yeah.
say there's some sort of ritualistic thing to that, or there's some sort of ritual, well, a ritual of some kind. And then I'm thinking about your birds, so you know your pigeons, you say, and
Yeah,
some of them are
for
missing.
Kernewek Lowender, the Happiness
Hmm.
Festival, I had lost half my stock of pigeons and fowl that I was hoping to sell for, as I said, the Happiness Festival, the Kernewek Lowender.
I mean, I don't know about the pigeons or the birds. I can't really speak for that much of that. But when you say about
It's so
the
long
rituals,
ago, it's
yeah.
now an artifact of time.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can say is that when it comes to the strange full moon and the silver disc phenomenon that I've had people tell me about, strange things have happened to them. That, you know, one or two have had markings on their bodies, the feeling of a contact experience, and yeah, sometimes the animals in the neighborhood may have acted a little bit strange. So maybe your birds flew or they got out somehow. I don't know. I can't explain that part.
But
Sorry,
the blooding wing thing up on these were aluminium doors. The bloody wing thing was quite an artifact.
Yeah, that sounds very strange.
And these were much bigger than a pigeon or a Rhode Island red or a leghorn wing. And it was for me quite a moment to note.
Yeah, I never quite heard it like that before. But I mean, I've had stories of, I mean, when I was researching local papers some one time, I mean,
Yeah.
I've had stories of people with racer pigeons get lost in a strange
Yeah.
weather phenomenon. You know, there's flocks of them,
Yes.
like 200 of them, and then all of a sudden they just disappear. No one knows where they are. And these are pigeons trained to race from one end to another.
Yeah.
You know, and then they never come back.
Mine were locked in.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. Never. You're the first person to tell me about the whole wing thing and letting stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Mine locked in.
It sounds like a ritual to me. It's the
It's
only thing I can
close to
describe.
Kennewick Lavender. Pigeon for Cornish folk are a delicacy,
Hmm.
and it's a costing thing. And at that time, 1979, I'm close to 60 now. 1979, I was rather a child, and it was a point of income. So, as you would imagine, close to 60 now, 1979, a child, I was not letting any income go. So they were locked in.
Like I said, I don't know what I can't describe what happened to your stock. I mean, if it's paranormal related, then it's obviously something very ritualistic. It could have been, you know, if you would ask me for a logical explanation, maybe someone stole them. You know, that's the only thing I can describe. As far as the silver moon, the moon and the disc thing, I've heard that quite a few times.
Yeah.
And it always seems to be on a full moon or near a full moon that seems to happen to people.
Yeah, stolen would be a difficulty because they were not only closed but padlocked in, and the padlocks were not undisturbed. But there was the blood wing thing.
Very interested then.
It is. Yeah.
So this
Very
is
curious, isn't it?
very, 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 very curious, and something I've never been able to describe or put any kind of
There was no visual signs of breaking out, or you know, like they got through a hole in the wall or something. Or...
No. This is
Call the
something
police?
I've never been able to put any description to.
I suppose you called the police, or someone did they? Or
No, it over some birds. It's not anything you would put
property?
anything to police. They in this country they would not care. They're too lazy.
It remains a mystery, Sean. We'll just move on if you don't mind, because there's a couple more.
Yeah. Happy to move on from it. I just wanted to reflect it onto you, to share it. It becomes part of your trove of knowledge.
Yeah, it was very nice, Sean. Thank you. That's the padlocked area in particular is definitely something that. I mean, it reminds me of you talk about strange things like that. Just to finish this up, because I want to get to other people's questions. I can see they're being patient. There was. I can't remember the name of the case, but I know of the final detail. There was a man who was found placed on top of a pile of coal, and I think the pile of coal was like maybe 10 feet tall.
Yes.
But somehow he had gotten up there without stepping on any of the coal. His body, it looked like his body had been placed there because he had a white shirt and some grayish trousers or something like that. And yet he didn't have any stains of coal on him. So if he had to climb up to the coal to lay down on it, he would have got it all over his shirt and all over his trousers. It's like somebody just placed his body there and left it there. And there was some strange marking, I believe, on his body too. I think he died of a heart attack, but it's just the weirdness of how he got placed there, you know. So another mystery that can't be solved by conventional means.
An equal conundrum. Yeah. I just wanted to share that it becomes part of your trove.
I would definitely remember that one.
Yeah. Thank you. Please rumble on to other people's.
Go ahead. I can see Gerard there is waiting, Cheryl, if you want to get on to him.
Yeah.
No, thanks, Sean.
Yes, Gerard, go on.
My question's not very relevant. It was just to you, Cheryl, that are we going to have not a Zoom meeting, a real meeting before Christmas or not?
You mean a face-to-face meeting?
Yes.
No, we'll be having in-person meetings next year. We'll have about 4 next year, but not
Yep.
before Christmas, no.
All right, just asking. That's all.
And
I'm
there'll be no Zoom meeting in December. We're taking a break. Okay, all right. Also, before I get on to you, Ben, there's Yuri. Did you want to ask your question yourself, or shall I read it out? Or I think Yuri was just asking, did anyone predict future events for Earth, visions of timelines to come, etc.?
Some people have given me some things, not just related to the cases I've talked about. Some see, I think one person predicted that Trump would be flying on one of those Air Force One helicopters, landing on top of the White House, apparently. Not in the field, but on top of the White House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Given where the current political landscape is looking in America, that could be some sort of possibility. I've had some people just, I mean, you know, if they're visions, they're visions. You know, if they happen, they happen. You know, you could have a million visions, and if one of them comes true, it doesn't mean they're all, future visions. As far, I mean, I just take them as they come. But I mean, some of them are more doom and gloom than positive. I'm sorry to say. You know, some of them predict mass extinction level events and lots of loss of life. And you know, there's a lot of bad things happening right now, isn't it? That could potentially lead to that stuff. So I don't know, but I mean, I've had some people, you know, I've had some really interesting ones myself, you know, which I can give you one story. I'm surprised I didn't mention this. When I was after all those other experiences, I think I was about 10 at this time. Maybe, yeah, I was about 10 because I was still in the junior school. I was good friends with a neighbor. My friend, he was my neighbor. He lived 2 doors down from me. We were childhood friends for a long time, and he was my best friend, you know, because we hang out all the time, did a lot of things together. But me and his parents got on very, very well. And he moved away when I was about 9, and he left. And I never think I was ever going to see him again. But not long after he left, I had this dream. I'd be walking up my street, he'd be around the corner, and he'd be there with another friend of mine. And I saw one of them wearing my best friend then. I saw him wearing red jumper and blue jeans, and the other one was in a tracksuit bottom black, all black. So a year goes by maybe, and I'm walking up this road, I'm walking up the street many, 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 many times. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, you know, one day I'm walking up there and I get that deja vu feeling of, and all of a sudden, I'm like, he's around the corner. Richard, my friend there, right, was around the corner. I look over and there he is. What do you think he's wearing? A red jumper with blue jeans, and he's there with my friend in the exact same spot wearing a black tracksuit top. And yeah, that's just weird. You know what I mean? Because there's no way I could have known that because I hadn't seen him for over a year. But as far as the whole future visions thing, I mean, yeah, some people are predicting a lot of doom and gloomy stuff rather than positive outcome stuff. It seems we're going to have a lot of shit to go through before we get to the other side. You know what I mean? If that, I'm sorry to say it, but it's not exactly the most positive thing I can put out there. I'm sorry. Can't hear you, Cheryl.
Okay, Ben, you've got another question?
Sorry, the ADSB data, it only goes back to July the 1st, 2016.
Oh.
Yeah. So I just checked it. So yeah, the 1st of July. So you miss out by a couple of months on that one. The other thing I wanted to say, sorry, thank you for your time, Gary, but I wanted to thank you, Cheryl, before we end all of this. You have to put up with my silly questions every month. I want to thank or apologize to everyone else for having to put up with me, but it just annoys me that, you know, someone could sit here for an hour or something like that, chat away, and then everyone just sits there and smiles. So that's why I'm always trying to ask questions. So my last questions for you, Cheryl, would be, do we have electronic records for the the UFO group, and do you happen to know whether you've got a letter from the Department of Air Force Investigative Services regarding what UFO groups should do in regard to reports? And this is going like right back to the very, like, when it probably wasn't even really UFO Queensland, it was whatever the old one was back in South Australia.
We do not have such letter, Ben.
Yeah.
And the only official letter we've really received is when in 1994, when the RAAF contacted civilian UFO organisations, said we're no longer taking UFO reports from the public. You guys deal with it. The other
So you have got that one?
Sorry?
You have got that one?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool. I just found it in a Bill Chalker document, and I've been looking everywhere for it. I can't find it.
Oh, yes, all Australian civilian groups, which there were more in those days.
Yeah.
Yes. So we all received it. In your other question about the electronic format, we did have a database on our previous website. It just sort of collapsed. We're not rebuilding that, but we need to put it in a database, but we do have digital records going back to, I think it's 98.
Okay, all right. And did Queensland look after Northern Territory?
No.
They had their separate group? Or was that?
That group doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah. The only groups in Australia are ours in Brisbane and the one in Sydney. There are other independent researchers, of course.
Yeah, yeah. So the Victorian one closed down?
It rose from the ashes, so to speak.
Okay, that's a story. All right, we won't go there.
But they don't run that. They don't run meetings. They haven't done for some years. They don't run meetings they don't have a membership. They don't run meetings regularly for the public. They did run a large event for the Westall UFO witnesses.
Yeah.
You know, with and they had various witnesses together. But yeah, and they have also recently hosted Ross Coulthard, the X60 Minutes investigator. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks for that, Gary. I've already put that up on the links to your books on Amazon, etc., on the chat, but that was way back.
Yeah, I just put a few more links in there for people to see. I was trying to get the other ones as well, but every time I go into my browser, the Zoom call seems to fluctuate a little, so didn't want to disturb it. But I've got links here. One is the Denbigh Lights UFO presentation that was on June the 10th of this year. Excuse me. The other one is the documentary I made. That was from 2018. I think that was made in 2019 actually, but that was when I did it all in 2018. And yeah, just the links to the book.
Thank you very much. So we'll wind
up. There's another one there. There's another one there. The Jason Gleaves UFO investigation video as well. So, you know, it's about 12 minutes long. You can see some of the work he done on it as well.
Right. Okay. Great. Terrific. I'm just copying that. Look, Gary, thanks so much for your time. It's 10 to 9 in the evening here, so we'll wind it up, and really appreciate you coming on and talking to us. I just love people coming from all around the world to come and speak to our members. It's fantastic, and they can hear about information we wouldn't ordinarily hear about. And a thanks to Philip Mantle, because without him, I would not have heard of you.
Yes. Well, yeah, he's given me a chance to put that book out there, and you know, he's helped me put it on a number of platforms. So if you want to all do me a little favor, you know, maybe you'd like to purchase the book and leave a review afterwards, you know, just to help boost the sales for me a bit, you know, because like I said, it's a very underrated case, the Denbigh Lights. I think, you know, I mean, it's like I said, I mean, this is how I look at it. You know, obviously that case there is the one that everyone's talking about because of the military involvement and the cover-up and everything else. But it's just, you know, if you're looking for a nice, easy case to get your hands on and just look at it, you know, I mean, there's a lot of other evidence in there too, which people can look at, you know, other cases which are which sort of give you folklore and the ancient history of the area. So yeah, you know, I try to offer a wide variety of different subjects around it. But, you know, I mean, The Pentyrch incident is definitely going to keep growing. The Denbigh lights, it's like, you know, if you want that nice compact case that just gives it all to you, there it is. You know, that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you. I'm just going to stop recording now.